So we will be there. We will never abandon you, ever. But sometimes you're gonna have to leave. And so far, so good, you know. Sorry, Boosie. He's so preoccupied.
Yeah, he is, very
It's
much
almost like thou doth protest too much, little Booze.
I'm gonna look.
You got a lot of dick on your mind.
I mean, it's
Throw
like
that out there.
It's like Zaya and Lil Nas X live in his head.
For free, rent free.
Like what?
It's like, sir, something you want to just go ahead and tell us. This is a safe space. We can be your sanctuary.
Perhaps that safe space was not provided for him, and
I don't
that's
think he
why
had a safe
He did
space.
not have one. We could definitely tell.
All right, one more time for the one more time. This is Mike Perkins, one half of MVP, one half of Opinions I Like Podcast, one half of Mike and Vince Perkins. For this here, I am the whole show. You saw the clip in the beginning, or you heard it, depending on where you are listening to this. You have Gabrielle Union addressing Lil Boosie's comments about, their kid, let's just go child, Dwayne Wade and her stepchild, Dwayne Wade's biological child. And, let me just address what Boosie is doing. I think what Lil Boosie is doing is he is misdirecting the energy and the conversation from a broader conversation, and he's sort of directing it at two people, one family in particular, in the Wades. And I think that him doing that kind of takes away from the bigger point. The bigger point, I think, is obvious. I think that there's a concerted effort to effeminize or, soften up the boys. Now it may not always result in Dwayne Wade and, Dwayne Wade's child, but at the same time, what we're seeing is that a lot of that stuff is being pushed, and at the expense of the boys, these agendas are being pushed. And as well, in operation, custody has in America is around 75 to 25 in favor of women, which essentially locks the dad in at a weekend dad. If the marriage dissolves, or if there is no marriage, or if the relationship dissolves, more than 50% of the divorces, more than 50% of the marriages end in divorce. Most of those divorces are filed by the women. Every metric that you could possibly look at suggests that when the father is in the kid's life, and let's go with boys, because, we're talking about boys here. When the father's in the boy's life, his quality of life is exponentially better. More likely to graduate, be a productive, person, create another family of his own, so on and so forth. Less likely to be on drugs, less likely to experience depression. And, I think we understand that. I think that there is either a big coincidence, of which I don't think it is, or there's a definite direction that American society is going in, and maybe it is a coincidence. I don't know, and I think that, with Black families in particular, I think we're affected more because we're the least married. Our women being the least married, and, having the most kids out of wedlock and things of that nature. So I think what Boosie is doing is not necessarily the greatest representation of the point. And, if he could kind of like either take time to kind of recalibrate and, figure out what it is that he's really trying to say, then maybe the point can come across a little bit better. Because, being honest, it does come across as homophobia. You know what I mean? It just does. that goes without saying. I don't think that we're, I don't know that I'm not on the fence about that. It just comes across. Now, do I think that he's actually homophobic? No, I don't think that he is afraid of, gay, LGBTQ community representatives. I just think that he's seeing what everybody else is seeing, and so he's saying what he sees, and sometimes people aren't the best representation of the point. And I think that Lil Boosie is not necessarily the best representation of the point. Now, given that Lil Boosie is not the best representation of the point, that leads me to the next thing. The next thing here for me is that all too often, since probably the 70s, certainly the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and so on and so forth, our women have used gay homosexuality as a slur. They've used it as a slur, so that when they don't like what you're doing, or your masculinity is in question, or you don't like them, or some list of things, that list is long, they call you gay. And what Gabrielle Union did in this instance was insinuate that a heterosexual man, who, again, let's say he's homophobic. Let's go with he's homophobic. I don't believe him to be homophobic. I just believe he's not the best representation of the point. What he is saying is certainly homophobic in nature, but I don't believe that he's actually homophobic. You know what I mean? I just don't think he gets it, and he's not the best representation of the point that he's trying to make. But neither here nor there. Gabrielle Union knows better. She's using gay, or insinuating that he's gay, as a diss to being gay. Because you would never tell a gay man that he always has dick on his mind. That would never be a thing. And what man would have dick on his mind? A gay man, probably. I mean, I'm guessing. Or at least a bisexual man. You would never use that as a diss or a knock to a homosexual man. So why would you use that as a knock to a man who you're insinuating is actually homosexual? Which tells me that you don't believe that he's homosexual. You're just using it as a dig, which is consistent with the sisterhood. That's what the sisterhood does. Uses gay as like a slur. And also, at the same time, which is contradictory, backs the LGBTQ community. The biggest pusher, other than the actual people, black women. Black women, liberal black women, feminist black women, womanist black women, loud black women. That's the biggest pusher of the LGBTQ agenda. You see that in the BLM mission statement, which was dismantling the nuclear family, which is crazy because the nuclear family is the cornerstone of any community, ethnicity, race, group, whatever. And what we have is a bunch of women who are anti that unless they can be in control. And really what you have is a bunch of women who really don't understand their role in making this thing work, But getting back to what Gabrielle Union did was disgusting. And what's so insidious and even sadder is that Jemele Hill is joining in, by proxy. I would have checked her, not checked her. I've been like, look, it's probably not a good idea for you to insinuate that this man is gay. Let's just say he is gay. You're using it as a slur. That's probably not a good deal. But Jemele Hill, per usual, like everybody else, is afraid of the sisterhood. Afraid of saying, well, this thing that we continually do and have done since the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and so on, is probably not a good deal. Because the people who we're actually offending is not the heterosexual man. Who we're actually offending, or at least, using a reference to their lifestyle, or their sexual orientation, let's say. Who we're actually dissing is gay men. Because we're using gay as a diss. and that we should stop doing that. But there's no boundaries for them. Like I said in the last video, there's no consequence. Not one woman has ever been. Look, this is the thing about black men and black women with regards to penalties for saying homophobic, using homophobia, or being homophobic. There is no penalty for a black woman being homophobic. They can be homophobic publicly. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. You know, absolutely nothing happens. If you're a black man and you're publicly homophobic, you will lose some shit. You know what I'm saying? You will lose some shit. Or you will at least be reprimanded publicly. Black women don't get that. Not at all. There's an immediate consequence when you're homophobic. You know? I'm sure there's certain doors that close for Boosie every time he talks. Which again is why I think that he's not the best representation of his point. Again, it does just come off as homophobic. But you can't combat homophobia, Gabby, with homophobia. You can't do the very same thing that you're accusing him of by saying that the sexual orientation of Boosie is gay and that somehow he needs to either come out, like, and it's like, I gotta be dumb so you can get away with that. I gotta be dumb so you can run that play from 1992. It's the oldest play in the world, and it's telegraphed. It's like, we know that you're gonna do that eventually. We know that you're just gonna say, oh, you're gay, because the thing is that the child is maybe a teenager now. How does this child know anything about themselves? Now, I mean, hopefully, you know, we understand, you know, hopefully the child doesn't have any regrets on anything that they do that is permanent. Even as low as a picture. You know what I mean? Hopefully they don't have regrets. Hopefully the child doesn't have regrets. Even pictures. Hopefully there's not been anything cosmetic done, you know what I'm saying, to this child as a teenager. You know what I mean? And I don't think that has. I think if that probably happened, there would be some kind of talk about it. But a teenager, I think that on some level, this has to be looked at. I mean, I don't know if it's abuse, but on some level, this has to be looked at as something. It's got to be called something. Maybe not abuse. You know, maybe that's too far. But it has to be looked at as something. It can't just be looked at as regular. You know? And look, fluidity is not intelligence. Fluidity is not acceptance. Fluidity is confusion on the part of the speaker, not on the part of the user. I see what you're doing. I see the play you're trying to run. Everybody can see the play you're trying to run. And to run that play, and then at the end of that play, run the 1992, oh, you must be gay play. That's like, come on, Gabrielle, do you know that we knew that you were going to do that? That train is never late. Oh, he must be gay because he's talking about, like, nah, it's just he sees what we're seeing. We're seeing our boys being feminized. That's what we see. That's what we see. We're looking at it and it's like, nah, this ain't cool. You know? Not to say that what their child has identified as is not a thing. You know, I believe it's a thing. But I'm saying that there's a bigger thing going on that has nothing to do with your child. The bigger thing that's going on is that we're making our boys feminine for no reason whatsoever. We're just doing it. That's the conversation. But the thing is that they have to redirect. It's like the abortion conversation, whereas they make it about women's rights. Other than like women, it's about women's bodies and women's rights. And it's not about killing the baby. It's redirecting the energy. It's like, well, no. This is about the baby. It's not about you. Grant, you got a body. That's fine. If you want to get a BBL or something like that, I should get 2 of them motherfuckers. If you want to get breast implants, get 4 of them motherfuckers. I don't care. But the baby's body is what we're talking about. It is redirecting the conversation to somehow Boosie is gay. I mean, I get it, but like we have to at some point we have to start either disengaging, you know what I mean? Because that's what I think what Boosie should do. know what I mean, disengaging completely and raise your boys to be men, you know, or have a better representation of the point, which is that the boys are being, you know, made to be feminine for no reason, but, you know, control. Again, toothless, roarless, clawless lions. That's what they're raising. And it's fun to them. But if you a dude and you see it, it's sad. You know? But that's going to be my time, man. You know, keep supporting, keep with the comments and showing the love and the likes and the subscriptions, man. Everything is going up. So I appreciate everybody for really showing love. I'm going to try to keep kicking these out as much as possible. If you go in the description, there's like Instagram, there's Facebook, there's Twitter, you know, there's even a Spotify link and everything where you can listen to the podcast, and you don't have to listen to it on YouTube, and you can just kind of just press play and just let them play and hear all the back catalog of things that I'm talking about. Do that, please. Subscribe on there as well. Yeah, just keep showing love, and you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna keep kicking these out. This is Mike Perkins, and I am out.